excited to talk to you today about some holiday trends, really designed to make sure that everybody is prepared ahead of the busy season that we're about to enter. So I'll plan to share some findings from some of the consumer reporting that our marketing team did earlier this year, as it really digs into kind of what is different ahead of 2022 and how we can expect to use FullStory in preparation as well. So as part of our customer success team here at FullStory, I'll be sharing out some lists or checklists. We all love one of those, really to help us prepare when it comes to the people, the processes, and of course, the product. So as I will go through this checklist, I'll give us a heads up that I'll flash up a QR code as well, so you can follow along. And within this checklist, you'll also have additional resources that you can get linked out to, and encourage you to share this with other folks across your team that might not be here today. So a little bit about myself. This is my third year as part of the customer experience team at FullStory, which also means it's my third year heading into the holiday season. And as a customer success manager and part of our experience team, our job and our role is really to make our customers as successful as possible. So offering strategic guidance, best practices, when it comes to adoption, when it comes to DXI, and really leveraging FullStory to make the most. I was a FullStory user prior to joining, which was fabulous. I used it in my prior role as a customer success manager. And while I do currently live in Atlanta, I really enjoy traveling and love taking up the opportunity for FullStory's work from anywhere. So this is me on a houseboat earlier this year working in Portugal. So really enjoy the digital nomad life and love that FullStory offers that opportunity to us. So as I mentioned, this is our third year, or my third year, as part of the FullStory team. And so along the way, we've collected a lot of practices, tips and tricks when it does come to preparing for a busy season with FullStory. And in fact, a few weeks ago, internally, we hosted our own holiday preparation week, an entire week dedicated to making sure that our internal teams are best prepared to support our customers during the holiday season. So of course, internal preparedness will only help us in turn with our customers. And so I'm here today to share what are those best practices, what did we talk about, and how you all can apply some of those to your daily work. Of course, we're talking about the holiday season. I can't leave out some holiday references here, but just want to let you know that you're not alone going into the busy season. Your entire FullStory team is here to support you, and I hope you feel very well supported with a lot of the great opportunities this week to engage with FullStorians, to engage with other DXI enthusiasts, and of course, we will continue to be here ahead of the busy season. So, it's always helpful to understand what are we walking into when we talk about the season ahead. So we'll look at just some of these common holiday shopping season days and what we can expect. This is also very important for us as FullStorians to know when our customers are going to experience some of the heightened traffic and maybe some of the issues that might come along with that. So of course, traditionally, we know the first holiday shopping day is Black Friday. Some of the trends that we'll review in a few moments is actually folks are researching a lot earlier this year. So folks might actually be doing a little bit of that shopping and research ahead of Black Friday. Just something to consider when it comes to your DXI experience. Cyber Monday quickly follows Black Friday. This year, analysts aren't expecting huge growth. In fact, it might be kind of muted, but a lot of that growth is going to be found through kind of inflation. Giving Tuesday. A lot of FullStory customers are in the nonprofit sector as well. but also in our e-commerce customers, this is an opportunity to dig into your values as an organization. Focusing on kind of innovators in this space, we see Patagonia as a great kind of guiding principle behind digging into your values and how that helps drive brand loyalty as well. Green Monday is also known as Cyber Monday too, giving you an opportunity on the 12th to get probably a lot of your items shipped to you prior to the 25th. Super Saturday, Panic Saturday, those last minute shoppers is kind of that Saturday before the 25th. But you do have an opportunity here, and a lot of brands will offer some guaranteed arrival times ahead of the 25th. And of course, there are some supply chain issues that a lot of industries might be dealing with at this point. But I think the opportunity here is for our e-commerce customers to really dig into what is that shipping opportunity, how can you communicate that clearly, again, focusing on the brand loyalty for your end customers. Well, and of course, as we go through all of our shopping and all of those purchases, the 26th is when returns season begins. So folks are then looking at the return policy, refunds, gift exchanges, and this lasts all the way until mid-January. So what a lot of opportunity lives here is essentially how do you make that easier for your customers to go through the returns process? Let's not hide away where to find that shipping label. Let's bring it to the forefront, again, giving you the opportunity as brands to build upon that brand loyalty. So we've looked at kind of what we can expect heading into the season and lasting all the way until mid-January. But what is different heading into 2022? So earlier this year, FullStory polled over 1,500 consumers about what are their online shopping habits against some of these economic headwinds. So what does that change heading into 2022 and the shopping season? So let's review a few of those findings, which will also give us an opportunity to think about what is it that we want to track within FullStory, leveraging all of the data that we do have, and how you can monitor that for, hopefully, a seamless holiday season. So first, probably not surprising to a lot of us, is consumer spending is down. So of the folks that we polled, 60% do plan to spend less. Now, this doesn't mean that they're not spending at all. In fact, what this does mean is that they're spending more time actually researching for the best deals out there. They're spending time looking at promo codes. They're looking into loyalty programs. And they're giving themselves just a little bit more time to make those larger decisions. Another theme this holiday season is treat yourself. So we're all kind of looking for how do we make sure that we're also, economically spending on those things that are important and valuable to ourselves. As I mentioned, researching is going up. So we talked earlier, Black Friday, of course, is the first day of shopping season, but expect a lot of research, expect comparison shopping ahead of that, and kind of begin thinking about what ways that you can track this in FullStory as well to understand what those trends are, how do they research ahead of time in order to make the actual purchase on the Black Friday or Cyber Monday or whenever they take that opportunity to purchase. So folks are tending to buy more online, just in an attempt to be more efficient, to save on other things. So I am an avid reader, I'm a bookworm, and I really, over the last 2 years, have focused on a book subscription called Book of the Month. And so this is a really good opportunity for me to also share with my family, who are avid readers, ahead of the holiday season, like what I can expect from them. So I bought this gift in the past, and I do plan to do it for the next year. And so Book of the Month has already been sending me some of these promo codes and kind of reminding me ahead of the holiday season. So this is actually book of the month sharing with me ahead of time, I don't have to do the research. I can already go ahead and take up their opportunity there. And then finally, mobile purchases are definitely on the rise. Not entirely surprising as well, but what the entire underlying theme here for us and why we are here at FullStory and at Spark this week is really, okay, knowing these trends, knowing that the online experience and the digital experience is more important than ever, how do we make sure that every purchase that's arguably more important than ever now is seamless and you can get that conversion? So I'd encourage you all to follow along. This is a QR code which will link out to the checklists that we are about to review together. I think, quick side note here, if you long press it and open a new tab, I've found that that works too to open the PDF. This is another plug also for our FullStory customer community. If you haven't joined it already, you'll be able to kind of find the community aspect here with this PDF. Okay, checklist 1, the basics. This is kind of just getting your room in order and making sure that kind of FullStory, the platform, is set up. So first, review session projections. Do you have enough sessions to get you through that busy season? We've already talked about that busy season lasting until mid-January. A lot of times we might think about sessions in your annual bucket, which is great, but let's just review them ahead of this season. This is like putting gas in the car for a long road trip. Do you have enough to get you there? Do you have enough sessions to get you through the season? The opportunity here is like, if you don't do this, you might run out of sessions and then be blind to some of those experiences, be blind to some of, or have gaps in your data, and of course not be able to kind of surface some of those key insights or opportunities to help users that are in trouble. Next is just making sure that you have the right people using FullStory. We'll talk a lot about workflow and how FullStory kind of operates in terms of handing off data to different teams. But at the core of FullStory is all of this data that we're collecting. The auto capture, the tagless technology here, making sure that as the center of your analytics and your digital experience, you've got product teams, e-commerce data teams, support and engineering, UX design, and of course giving us an opportunity to kind of indicate all of that data up to the executive team. So as a best practice, just making sure that the right folks have the right access. One of the key tenets of FullStory is trust and trustworthiness. And so highly encourage everybody to focus on privacy and doing a privacy audit ahead of this season. So if you don't do this kind of on a regular basis, this is my recommendation, is just continually make sure you have a workflow and a process set up to focus on making sure you're not capturing end users' data. That is our responsibility to our consumers and to our customers to make sure that their data is safe. And then finally here, the basics, the final checklist item is just conducting a performance review. So making sure, of course, this time of year, likely a lot of third-party scripts are going through audits and performance-related tests. So go ahead and do that, encourage you, and then also make sure that these findings are reported out to all necessary parties, making sure that key engineering teams, stakeholders, leadership, they have those findings so that they can go into the holiday season peace of mind and not having to worry about performance. Okay, moving on to our second checklist here is really digging into FullStory data, and actually going through some of those trends that we mentioned earlier. How do you leverage the insights, or how do you leverage the data to pull out insights? The first, we're all talking about e-commerce, checkout flows, conversion rates, I joined a great session yesterday, led by a colleague of mine, Gardner, all about the money, right? Like, money talks, and we also want everybody to be able to prove the value of their work as well. So this is where I'd encourage y'all to set up revenue events. So revenue events in FullStory give you the opportunity to kind of align dollar values, average order value, cart value, and aggregate that up for your funnels and for your metrics. Giving you then, if you have an opportunity to fix an issue, you can quantify that. So when we're thinking about analysts and just growing your conversion rate, think about how you can either save money or how you can create opportunities, obviously, to generate more revenue for your business. And encourage you also to communicate that. So that helps with prioritization as well. So once you have your revenue event set up, I'll say this does take some instrumentation. So if you're following along in the PDF, you will also see that there's a long list of resources that you can follow. You can use our custom event API. If you're using some integrations like Segment and Telium, you can use that for your revenue event or data layer capture. So TLDR, revenue events help you prioritize. It does have some level of effort here, but the opportunity here is very, very high for you. All right, the next is creating alerts. So this is an in-app opportunity. So when it comes to level of effort, the level of effort is in the app. You can create these, but of course it gives you the opportunity to take proactive and make proactive decisions. So think of these promo alerts as kind of thresholds that you'll be able to take, and then if an error is occurring, you'll get notified, an alert will be sent out to you, and therefore you can be proactive. I've worked with an energy company in the past, and they had just integrated kind of their technology with Google Maps, and this was when you were kind of signing up for a service, when you were transferring a service. The way that you input your address was through this integration with Google Maps, and it was broken. For whatever reason, it just hadn't been integrated correctly, and that actually meant that users and their consumers, they couldn't set up services. They weren't able to transfer their energy services. This is a big concern for them. And they were able to be proactive because they had an alert set up for postcode error or zip code error. And so this allowed them, instead of kind of flooding their support team with messages and kind of frantic calls, they were able to take action before the issue became urgent. So think about what's important in your workflow. You've got promo code errors. We talked about those being very, very important this time of year. What about error messages? Out of stock messages as well. Rage clicks, dead clicks. This is very, very low-hanging fruit when we think about FullStory, low level of effort, high impact to help your workflow. When it comes to alerts, you can also send those to visible channels using some of our out-of-the-box integrations, like Slack. We have a whole host of integrations at FullStory. When we think about those workflows that I talked about earlier, these are those opportunities to take the information from FullStory, seamlessly pass those over to other teams, and just make sure that everybody is leveraging the insights that you have. So support can find a session, send it over to the engineering team via some of these integrations. The engineering team has the opportunity to dig in with all of the network calls, with everything behind the scenes, and prioritize. FullStory also has a lot of other integrations that might take a little bit more at level of effort. So Scott mentioned yesterday, we just released our Qualtrics session replay embed. So voice of the customer, of course, is very important for us. So then you can see when a survey has been sent, you have the FullStory session replay embedded as well. So encourage you just to take a look, pick out the ones that are important to you. and then, of course, prioritize the ones that you can get ahead of the season. All right, we're on to our final checklist here. This is taking action. So I'm sure a lot of folks already have a lot of plans, a lot of checklists in place. Of course, what we're talking about today is very specific to FullStory. So a lot of these you probably already have, and I'll add that kind of FullStory color to it from what we've seen work really well. The first is socializing FullStory. So we've talked about like the workflows, DXI data being at the center of all of these teams. We interviewed a lot of our customers ahead of this season as well, and just kind of what they do with FullStory, whether it's their first year, whether it's their third year of using FullStory. And this one really, really stood out to me and to some of our customers of socializing FullStory. It might seem simple, but imagine this workflow. You have a checkout error. Customers can't check out, right? They can't purchase, and they're stuck on this checkout page. So then you have an influx of calls to your support team. Support team can validate using session replay that yes, in fact, there is an error happening and customers cannot check out. So then the support team escalates to support management. Management can quantify using metrics and dashboards that's saying, yeah, actually, in fact, 20% of our customers can't check out. That threshold is enough to cause a lot of concern. And so then this is passed over to the product team. Product team digs in further using conversions and using dashboards, and they see, oh, this is actually isolated to mobile-only users. So then they've been able to diagnose a little bit further, and now they can pass it over to the mobile dev team. All of this using FullStory data. Simultaneously, then, the data team can understand, well, what is the impact that this is happening? What is the impact this is having? How can we kind of look at the data a little bit more closely, pass it along to our leadership team that's probably in a war room somewhere, and then you can have this as a retrospective of like, how did this happen? Okay, so imagine all of those workflows. If you don't have FullStory socialized, a chain is broken in that link, and of course you won't be able to kind of complete this retrospective as well. So encourage you to socialize FullStory, make sure that each link in that chain can be completed. This one, similar to what I mentioned, just making sure that there's a workflow that you have when issues are raised, red flags, like where do people go, how is this documented, what are those escalation paths. Encourage folks to kind of bookmark this as well, so if something happens, they know immediately where to go. We've talked a lot about kind of being proactive. Some of our customers who have been around for a while kind of head into the holiday season in a more reactive manner, and then the second year they say, okay, well now we can be proactive. No amount of time. At this point, like we can talk about just establishing some of these dashboards that are important for your business. What are those key funnels that you can create ahead of time? Keeping an eye on your mobile experience. Do you have a dashboard specifically dedicated to your mobile checkout? So I'd encourage you just to spend a little bit more time creating those dashboards ahead of the holiday season, and then spending 10 minutes a day being proactive. And then finally here, we talked a little bit about this, but have a retrospective. So measuring the impact of all of the work that you've done. Of course, this is going to be a FullStory slant to it. Part of my role as a customer success manager is to really make sure that we can quantify the value that FullStory is providing to you. And so part of this can be, of course, revenue, but other areas are faster resolution time. Can your support team close out tickets faster? And does that have an impact on your customer satisfaction score? Do you generally have improved efficiencies? So a lot of this is also kind of encouraging us to make sure that we have, prior to the holiday season, key KPIs of what does good look like and how you can monitor and measure those at the end of the season as well. So I'll flash this up one more time if you didn't already have an opportunity to pull it up. The other plug here is if you have any additional tips, tricks, things that work really well for you and your team, add them to the comments. This is our customer community. You all are the experts in your business, so definitely encourage you to start the conversation there. And as always, we do know that, this is my last holiday reference, by the way, so. Expect the unexpected. But as that might happen, just know, I'll flash our shiny happy faces up here again. FullStory's customer success team, customer experience team is here to support you every step of the way. And with that, I'll open it up to any questions that y'all might have.
Awesome. Thank you, Anna. Can we give a round of applause for Anna first before we get into it?
Thank you.
Really great list. I hope y'all are checking them twice. But if you have a question, I will come to you and we can go from there. Who has a question? I'll start it off. Actually, we'll go with you first.
Yeah, no problem. So these are the trends for the holidays, but do we expect these trends to continue for other type of holidays that are in, say, Q1, Q2 of next year?
Yeah, I mean, great question. I think there's a tendency, yes, to see that those trends will continue post-holiday season, especially when it comes to kind of just researching ahead of making sure you have kind of like that loyalty program and the promo codes. We heard from FTD yesterday. We work with a lot of other kind of folks that their busy season is maybe around Mother's Day or Valentine's Day, and so these would be trends that I would recommend that we continue to monitor, especially when it comes to FullStory ahead of those busy seasons as well. Thanks.
Awesome. What other questions do we have? And like I said, I had one question. If you had to pick just a few of them, from your vantage point, what are some of the most important and maybe easiest ones to go ahead and do off your list?
Sorry, important and easiest.
Like the low-hanging fruit off your list for...
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, and sorry, I should have repeated your question earlier, but the question is, what are the low-hanging fruit from this list? So some of those things that you can do in the app. So creating alerts you can do in the app. Some of those key integrations that kind of help with the workflow. So I would definitely recommend those two. And then some of that kind of change management piece, just talk about FullStory. Create a FullStory Slack channel where you can have some of these recommendations going out. You can have conversations. I think in the checklist as well, there is like a level of effort. So if you need to prioritize, you can kind of use that column to help you prioritize.
Any last questions? All right, let's give Anna one more round of applause.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks for having me.